Hello, and welcome to the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's Kids Club at Home. My name is Kevin, and once again, I'm really happy that you could join us today. Now, for today's activity, we'll be exploring and tinkering with ramps and seeing how objects move or don't move when placed on ramps. And that will all end in a fun problem-solving challenge that you can design and try out yourself at home. Now, I enjoy doing this kind of tinkering activity because, well, really the possibilities are almost endless for what you can build with ramps. And that kind of freedom gives me so much room to be creative and imaginative in what I construct. Now, caregivers, tinkering is a curiosity-driven method of exploring STEAM concepts that allows learners to do their own investigations and come to their own conclusions based on what they observed during their own experiences. And this activity in particular will deal a lot with making predictions and basing those predictions on evidence and observations. And those skills certainly help scientific thinking, but also literacy skills as well. After all, skilled readers and writers make predictions based on evidence all the time. So before we get started, let's do our icebreaker this week. And this week I want to know, if you could invent something to solve a problem, what would you invent? And what problem would it solve? Now for me, I'm going to keep this to relatively small problems. And I'm thinking because, well, it's incredibly icy outside right now, I would love to invent some sort of snow boot or ice boot that melts ice the moment the bottom of your boot hits the ground. That would be especially useful in a hilly and often icy city like Pittsburgh. Would let people walk much more safely wherever they go if they had these super awesome boots. But also, people might not be able to get those boots. They might be kind of expensive. So maybe a better invention would be some sort of super cool concrete that melts ice the moment ice starts to form on it. That way everybody can walk safely in an icy city like Pittsburgh is right now. So what about you? What would you invent, and what kind of problem would it solve? Let us know in the comments wherever comments are open. So as I said, today's activity explores ramps. And that's a great place to start with the question, what is a ramp? Now, I know a ramp when I see one. I can look at something over there and say, that's a ramp. Or something over there and say, that's not a ramp. But if I had to define a ramp for someone who had maybe never seen one before, I'm not sure what I'd say. Let me think about that for a second. I guess I'd start by saying a ramp is a mostly smooth surface that has one end higher up than the other. Let's test that definition out a bit. And we'll do that using Bodega Cat by Louis Chin. It's a really great picture book. So I said it's a mostly smooth surface. There you go. It's pretty much level, but it's not a ramp yet, is it? So let's raise one end higher than the other. Okay, now we're talking. Now we've got a ramp. This end is higher than this end. And if I just propped it up on something, I'd have my hands free so I can tinker with it some more. Mission accomplished. So let's take a moment to think about where we see ramps in our everyday lives. Where have you seen some ramps? Now certainly in Pittsburgh or anywhere else that's hilly, any sidewalk or street that's on a hill is basically a ramp. Some museums and libraries have ramps. Stadiums, like where the Pirates or Steelers or Penguins play, I used to love to run up and down ramps in stadiums when I was a kid. Now that I think about it, ramps are pretty much everywhere. So let's get started, now that we've talked about ramps a little bit. You may have received an activity kit for today's activity from a CLP location, and your adult can call 412-622-3114 to learn more about these kits. But if you don't have one, that's totally fine. You'll just need some objects from around where you live, we'll get to that in a second, and a piece of paper and something to write with. That'll be plenty. So to get started for real, your mission is to go around where you live and find a whole bunch of objects, or even just a few, that you think might make a good ramp. Now this book that I just held up, Bodega Cat, was pretty good, but I'm gonna look for something a little bit longer. So you can search for something that might work for you, and bonus points if you prop it up on something to test it and keep it stable so you can have your hands free while you tinker. So I'm going to go search for some objects right now, and I'll be back with you in a second. Cute, but not a great ramp. Not quite. Longer and wider, but not flat. Maybe this would roll down a ramp? Anyway, it can't even stay up on its own. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So close. Maybe I can find something just a bit longer. All right, I think we found our winner. So, my assistants and I tested out a whole bunch of objects as ramps. Some worked well, some did not, and this is the one we decided on. It's stable, it's stacked up on a pile of books, and I think it'll hold if I roll an object down it. But before I test that out, how about you? How did your ramp search go? Did it take you a while to find something that worked? For the ramps that didn't work, could you figure out why? I know I had a whole range of reasons my ramps didn't work before I figured out that this one would be just fine. So now it's time to test it. And to do that, I'm going to use an object that I'm fairly certain will roll, this baseball. Let's see what happens. Sorry, downstairs neighbor. Anyway, that's a great result. The ball will roll down this ramp. I wonder what would happen if I raised the stack of books. Would it roll down faster, slower, or just drop off? What if I lowered them? Would it roll at all? Might be an interesting side experiment to try out. But for now, I'm going to go find more objects that I can test on this ramp to see what happens. And you can do the same thing. That's your new mission, a scavenger hunt for objects that you think might or might not roll down your ramp. But a quick note, don't gather anything that is sharp, breakable, made of glass, or special to you or someone you know. Just find things that can handle a roll down without any breaking or shattering. So I'm going to go find some objects and I'll show them to you first before I do the test. So here are the objects that I've gathered from around my apartment. And I'm looking at them and I'm just noticing some things. Ways they're similar, ways they're different. If I had to organize them into groups by similarity, how would I organize them? And this is maybe a good chance to not only take a look at mine and come up with your own ways of sorting them, but maybe look at yours as well and think, what do you have? What do you notice? Now for mine, I notice a few things right away. An easy similarity to notice is, well, I have two balls or spheres here. Here's a dryer ball that I use for laundry. Here's a baseball that I really don't use for much of anything anymore. Got some animals, our sloth, our diploma duck, some ducks or loons, not sure, but animals for sure on this one. There's some circles as well. This is circular. Same with this. This pin is circular. I suppose if you look at the underside of this duck, it's circular. This battery is circular if you look at it from a certain angle. And then we have some that are flat. This has flat surfaces. This pin is circular and flat. This is flat, but feels different on each side. That'll be interesting. So hopefully you've taken a look at your objects as well and noticed some similarities and differences. And now it's time to make some predictions, to start thinking ahead about how will or won't these objects go down our ramps. Now, based on my earlier test with this baseball, I'm pretty confident this dryer ball will roll down the ramp easily. I'm also pretty confident that this battery will roll down, although it might depend on what angle I started at. This, I'm not really sure about. All the flat surfaces make it tricky. Will it roll? Will it slide? Will it tumble? Will it just sit there? Honestly, nothing would really surprise me with this one. So those are some predictions. The balls will roll down fast, probably the battery too. The flat ones I'm not sure about. And I don't know, we'll have to test it out. So make some predictions for yourself, some guesses about what you think is going to happen. Which will go fast, which will go slow, which won't go at all. I'm going to start testing mine now too. You should test yours as well. And I'll see you on the other side. All right, let the tests begin. First up, baseball. Dryer ball. Polygonal planet. A duck. So much for the duck. Pin. Coaster. Sloth. Well, I guess that seems about right, doesn't it? Well, that was fun. I learned a lot. It was really interesting to see how things went or didn't go down the ramp after making predictions about them. I noticed and learned a few things along the way. First, this coaster, I put it down with this side down. I wonder if it would have gone down the ramp differently if it had been this side. That could be an interesting additional test. Same thing for this pin. I put it down with the pink side down. If I had done silver side down, would it still have slid, rolled, tumbled? Not sure. And then this thing. How would you describe how it went down the ramp? Definitely went down the ramp. It kind of did everything. It slid, tumbled, rolled in some order. It definitely didn't stay still, so that was really interesting. I wonder if I kept sliding this down, would it keep going down the same way or would it be different each time? The other big thing I learned is that my ramp, well, it can kind of be changed a little bit. Sometimes if you puff the plastic lid up, it gets more curvy. That's the way it was when I just did my test. But you could also push it down and depress it, and that makes it a little more caved in, which I wonder if would make objects go down faster. That could be another test. What about you? How did your ramp experience go? Did your predictions hold up? Were there any surprises or noticings you made along the way? So now that I've gone down the ramp individually with each object, it's time for objects to race against each other. Not in a competitive way, really. You don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt, but to just compare, see how object A goes down relative to object B. So I'm going to set up my ramp again, and then I'm going to just, again, make some quick predictions as I pair off objects against each other. Which one do I think will go faster than the other? Do I think they'll tie? If they do tie, what does that mean? You can pair off your objects as well and make some predictions for yourself. Take a look at your pairings and ask yourself, what's going to happen here? So I'm going to get these races started and I'll see you in a minute. Time to race. Our first matchup, baseball, dryer ball. I predict the baseball will go down faster. Matchup 2. Coaster, pin, with the sides you see facing you, down. I predict the coaster will finish faster. Off the course, racers. Matchup 3. Polygonal planet, battery. Definitely picking the battery here. And our most anticipated matchup of the afternoon, the duck, the sloth. Anything could happen here. Scintillating stuff. Well, that was super fun and also full of surprises. I was totally wrong in a couple of cases. It looked to me like the dryer ball went down slightly faster than the baseball, and the pin definitely went down faster than the coaster. The battery did go down faster than the polygonal planet, which wasn't too much of a surprise. And the sloth and the duck, well, I'm not even sure how to describe what happened there, but it was fun to watch. How did your races go? Were there any surprises for you? Did your predictions hold up? And if your predictions were a little off, like mine were, maybe you can think about, why were they off? What did I miss? It's possible also that we didn't miss anything. You may have noticed I only ran each race once. It might be interesting to run races over and over again with the same combination and see if you get the same result each time. So now we're moving on to our final challenge, and this is where the tinkering really comes in. Your goal is to pick an object and have it slide down the ramp and land in the special area that you choose and design. Let's call it a resting zone, a place that the object will come to a full stop after landing, a specific place, not just anywhere on the floor. For example, I'm going to pick the baseball, and I'm going to roll it down the ramp and try to have it end up in this plastic cup. And this is where tinkering is really going to come in handy. I'm going to have to figure out, how do I make sure the ball, when it comes off the ramp, rolls exactly into this resting zone? Will I need barriers? Something to slow the ball down? Something to speed the ball up? I don't know, it went pretty fast. This is where I'm going to have to get imaginative. So start to think about your resting zone. Do you have a cup? Nothing glass? Do you have some tape that you can mark off the floor with, if the floor is safe to tape on? Either way, think about how you'll mark off or designate your resting zone where your object will come to a full and complete stop. Pick your object, and then try to tinker to see if you can get your object to stop exactly where you want it. I'm going to go give this a shot, and when I'm done, I'm going to maybe just draw a quick picture and take some quick notes about what I did to help me remember what I did. Let's see how it goes. Well, that was a fun challenge, although it took fewer tries to get the ball into the resting zone than I expected. In any case, I drew some pictures and took some notes, and that might be easiest instead of me just talking to help review how it went for me. So I kind of did it in 4 stages. Stage 1, it was just rolling down the ramp and hopefully into the cup. And it didn't really work out, and in fact it kept banging up against the closet doors behind it, and I didn't like that sound. Bang, bang. So that brought me to phase 2, where I put a couple of yoga blocks, which are kind of soft and poofy, up against the wall, and also it helped hold the target zone, the resting zone, in place. That was phase 2. That worked pretty well, but the ball still didn't go into the cup, other than I think maybe once. So for phase 3, I put down a couple of weights at the end of the ramp to help guide the ball into the resting zone. And although the ball rolled into the resting zone a few times in this setup, I'm not sure the weights did a whole lot. Nevertheless, I moved on to stage 4, where I added some books to the ends of the weights to create almost an alley or a path that would, again, hopefully guide the ball into the resting zone. And the ball did make it into the resting zone a few times there, but I'm still not 100% sure that the weights or the books helped much. And I kind of thought about that here in my I wonder questions. Like, I wonder if the most important thing for my ramp challenge isn't just starting the ball down the ramp as lined up as possible with the resting zone, and nothing else really matters. Another thing I wonder is there a way to make it so that it doesn't matter where you start the ball on the ramp? You could start it all the way to the left or all the way to the right, and it would still end up in or close to the resting zone. Those are my 2 big I wonders for this. So how about you? How did your ramp challenge go? Were you able to pick out a good resting zone for your object that you rolled down the ramp? Were you able to get the ball or whatever object into your resting zone? Did it take a lot of tries? Did it not even work at all? Remember, this is really about the process, not actually getting the job done or accomplishing the goal. It's really about tinkering and figuring things out along the way and seeing what works and what doesn't. If you had to do it all over again, would you design a similar challenge? Would you do something different? And did you take any notes or draw any pictures? Because caregivers drawing pictures and taking notes can really help consolidate information into our long-term memories. And that kind of consolidation can help picking things up next time and building upon that information much more smooth and efficient. And that kind of cumulative thinking and I wonder style question writing can help expand thinking and open up possibilities and connections for future learning. So I thought this was a really fun challenge. There are definitely things that I would do different if I had to do it all over again. I'd probably design a completely separate style challenge altogether. And this is a good time for you to think about what you might do differently and how your challenge went altogether. So I had a great time tinkering, building, and experimenting, and quite honestly playing with ramps and objects today. It was fun to just do some general exploration and then to try to complete my own personal ramp challenge. I hope you found it all enjoyable as well. Now, if you have suggestions for future activities for Kids Club, you can share those in the comments wherever comments are open. You can find us on Twitter as @Carnegie Library or on Facebook at Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. Now, if you liked this week's activity in particular, we have a great resource to share with you. You can check out PBS Learning Media's Let's Learn page for a whole slew of activities related to science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And most of these activities don't require special materials and can be adapted for a wide range of ages. The library itself offers great materials to learn more about problem solvers, inventors, and scientists. March is, after all, Women's History Month, and in recognition of women in science, you should check out The Doctor with an Eye for Eyes. It's a picture book biography written by Julia Finley Mosca and illustrated by Daniel Rieley. And it tells the real-life story of Patricia Bath, who overcame all sorts of obstacles to become really a pioneering eye doctor and inventor. And it's part of the broader Amazing Scientist series with the same author and illustrator. It's fantastic. All those books are available on Hoopla, which means once you check it out, it'll be there for you to read on your screen right away. You can also check out our STEM book lists on our website, or just reach out to us anywhere we're online, and we'd be happy to make recommendations for you. Now, if you don't have a library card and are interested in getting one, you can go to our website, carnegielibrary.org, or give us a call at 412-622-3114, and someone will be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us and watching Kids Club at Home. You can tag us at Carnegie Library and share what you made today. And keep an eye out for grab-and-go kits at select CLP locations. We miss you, we enjoyed having you, and we'll see you soon.